Welcome to Sisters in Crime's Murder Monday, where authors talk about their crime craft. My name is Jacq, and I'm a copywriter, occasional broadcaster, podcaster, and member of Sisters in Crime Australia, where we've been celebrating women's crime writing since 1991. My guest for this month's Murder Monday is Nilima Rao, a Fijian Australian. I'm going to say Fijian Indian Australian, sorry, who refers to herself as culturally confused, but I think we're all a little bit confused when it comes down to it. And she certainly doesn't look confused to me. Hey, Nalima, how you going?
Hi, Jack. It's so lovely to be here.
Nalima's critically acclaimed and charming debut, A Disappearance in Fiji, is set in 1914. It was winner of the 2024 American Library Association Reading List for Mystery Fiction and appeared in multiple US Best of the Year roundups, oh my goodness, including Amazon Best Debut of the Year and culture website Crime Reads Best Historical Fiction of the Year. And that's massive. And when I say critically acclaimed, there are recommendations for some really big hitters, including my favorites like Ovidia Yu, Alexander McCall Smith, and Colin Cotterill. In her second novel, we return to Fiji in the hope that Akal Singh will be able to prove himself beyond the tightly held colonial grievances of his boss with more than just his bowling skills and hard work. Nalima, could you give us an elevator pitch for the latest in the series, A Shipwreck in Fiji, which is out right now?
Yeah, sure. So, a shipwreck in Fiji. We're still hanging out with a Carl. He's still in Fiji. He's having a little bit of a better time of things. He's got a couple of friends now. So, Taviti, who we met Taviti in the first book, and Dr. Robert Holmes, who we also met in the first book. So. Work's still not great. His Inspector General still doesn't like him, but he's starting to settle into Fiji a little bit. So he gets so it's 1915. So World War One is still a backdrop of World War One, and Akal gets sent off to Levuka, which is the historical capital of Fiji, to do a bunch of things that are pretty much considered wild goose chase, nuisance type errands that the Inspector General assigns to him, sort of again as a little stab because he doesn't like him. So one of these is to chaperone a couple of Australian women who are over, and they're the niece and the sister of the editor of the Fiji Times, so an influential man, and so they are looking for a chaperone to take them to Levuka. So that's one of the jobs. Another job is to mentor a young constable who's there on his own and who's jumping at shadows. Is Doesn't know what he's doing. And one of those shadows is the fact that some mysterious Europeans have been seen lurking about Levuka, and there's a concern that it might be Germans, the dreaded Germans, despite how far away they are from the war. He's also being asked to investigate this wild rumor of Germans lurking about Levuka. So he and Taviti is going to join him because Taviti's home village is actually quite close to Levuka. It's on the same island. So Akal's sort of resigned to this. He's going to get to see a new place. He's going to get to hang out with Taviti and meet his family. So he's all right with it. But of course, when he gets there, there's local controversies and maybe a dead body or two. And the ladies who he's escorting turn out to be more of a handful than he would have liked.
Kind of picked that from the cricket game, actually. Sort
Yeah.
of straight away. I'm just like, oh no, here's trouble.
Yes, yeah, great, good. I wanted them to be trouble.
There's nothing like a bit of trouble on Fool's Errand.
Yep.
So we'll start with our questions. How much research do you do before writing? Because I mean, the first novel pulls in the indentured slavery of the Fijian Indians in the sugarcane.
Yep.
So how well I suppose it's how much is research and how much is knowledge.
Oh no, it's research. Like I grew up, and we moved to Australia when I was 3. I grew up not knowing very much at all about the indentured labour system.
Yeah.
I knew that my somewhere in the dim and distant past, some relatives, some ancestors had gone to Fiji to work in the sugarcane fields. I didn't really know that it was an indentured labour
Hmm.
program, though I got the sense that maybe it was whatever it wasn't great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I didn't know how far back. I didn't know which of my, how many greats we went back. So, when I started looking into this in about 2016, I learnt that it was my great grandparents, and yeah, learnt about the indentured labor system.
Wow.
So it wasn't it, not really any of it was pre-existing knowledge other than like many tourists who go to Fiji, I knew that there were Indians in Fiji. Like that is kind of almost the extent of my knowledge. So yeah, so heaps and heaps and heaps of
Yeah.
research. So for the first book, I was trying to figure out what was life like on the plantation because the first book is set in a plantation, or most of the action is set in a plantation, and that was the thing I was really
Mm.
interested in, like bringing to life the experience of the indentured laborers while they were under indenture. With this book, with the second book, the um, uh, two main focuses of my research were what was life like for people after they finished indenture. So this book is set in Levuka and then in a Fijian village. And so that was the other focus of my research was I didn't really know. I know some Fijian, like
Hmm.
local indigenous Italke people, um, but I don't know anything, didn't know anything about their culture. So I was researching everything from like the chiefly structures to traditional punishments to how the villages are laid out to, what different kinds of ceremonies they have, how marriages are organized, all of this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I actually managed to organize a village stay in the village that's near Levuka, which was incredible. It is one
Wow.
of the most beautiful places I've ever been. Yes,
Oh my
that was,
goodness.
yeah, it was like, so we,
I'm just
I
thinking
got.
best research trip ever.
Oh, it was amazing. And it was actually pretty hard to organize because, that you can go to villages,
Hmm.
um, but I didn't want to do a touristy thing.
Yeah.
I really wanted to stay at somebody's house and see actually just daily life.
I was about to say, how do you do
So
that? Do you just like pick a place on Google and knock on the door? Or
you pretty much have to be invited. Like it's not sort of that open.
yeah.
So my cousin's cousin, because cousins. So the actual chain of like how I organized this was my cousin's niece's aunt invited me to come and stay with her at a village.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
quite the chain of 6 degrees of separation. So, and it was all kind of organized in a very Fijian fashion, which is
yeah.
like, oh, call this person. And they say, oh, email this person. And that person says, yeah, come to my hotel and we can talk about it. Like, so I went to Levuka without knowing whether I was actually going to get to go stay in the village. And then met the lady the aunt who runs the hotel, explained to her what I was doing. And she's like, yep, that's fine. You can come and stay with me. I'm going there in about half an hour. So I had to like repack my bag
Yeah.
and then we went to Lavoni, and there's a little like truck that takes people from Levuka and stops off at all of the villages, and it is
Yeah.
like it's exactly what you would imagine in a country like Fiji. It's like a converted ute that's had some tarp stuck over the top of it. Everyone's sitting on the floor, on some benches, on the wheel, like the spare wheel
Yeah.
over here. There was one guy hanging off the ledge at the back,
Right.
holding a suitcase and holding on like for dear life. And he seemed completely unfazed by this, whereas I'm watching him every time we go over yet another boulder or into another rut. And I'm like, how is he not falling off? But anyway, so we get in there. And so Overlau is so Levuka and Livoni are both on the island of Overlau,
Yeah,
which is an extinct crater, so, an extinct volcano. So it's
yeah,
shaped like a crater. So Levuka is all of Levuka's on the strip of land around on the outside of the crater. So
yeah,
that's like ocean. And then you go up and over the cliff basically to
yeah.
get into the crater. And at the bottom of the crater, that's where Livoni is. So once you're inside the crater, you can't see the outside world. All you can see is just a ring around you of all of cliffs that's all covered in forest. It is beautiful. And it kind of you feel really isolated and away from the world. And it kind of feels like I don't know my dinosaurs, a pterodactyl. What's one of the flying a velociraptor? I don't know. And a flying
You're in
a dinosaur.
Jurassic. Yeah,
Yes,
wow.
you're in Jurassic Park. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Gorgeous.
I
Yeah.
was like, I don't need to ask that question now because we've covered that.
Oh,
Wow.
sorry, I'm just cracking on now. Yep.
This is great. So, what did you discover about your writing that you weren't quite prepared for?
Good question. About the actual process of writing, you mean?
It could
Or
be
my own
anything. It
writing?
could be what you're writing. It could be the process. It could be the adventures you took.
Yeah, I I'm gonna get personal with you now, Jack.
Okay, just you and me.
Just you and me. Um, I've been reflecting on this a little bit.
Yeah.
So I thought I approached this when I started all of this. I approached this with a really sort of intellectual sort of lens on it. Like I want to write this book. I want to write about Fiji because I think people don't know this story. I didn't know this story, and I'm from there.
Yeah.
About the Indigenous Emperors, da da da. I want to write something that you can read on the beach as a tourist. You can read it on the beach in Fiji and learn a little bit about the history of the
Hmm.
country, but it's supposed to be a fun romp. Like it's a crime fiction novel.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
So it's a
Um,
light, not heavy.
right. Even though some of
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
especially the
Yeah.
first
Mm.
books, a bit heavy. Um, so like I say, I approached this with a very sort of, I had goals, there was a purpose.
Yeah.
But what has transpired is that I actually feel much. I didn't really do this for this reason. I didn't even contemplate this reason, but I do feel much closer to being Fijian, being Indian. It's really helped me feel, yeah, more connected to my heritage.
Yeah. I was about to say a bit more anchored, a little less
Yeah,
confused.
yeah, a little less confused, and actually, oddly, a little bit more, like less defensive about being Australian as well. Like, I used to be one of those people where if you said to me, "Where are you from?" I would
Yeah.
get very upset about it. And now I'm like, you know, it's kind of a problematic question, but I
Yeah.
get that you're probably coming from a good place, so I'm not gonna
Just
get
gonna
too upset about it. Yeah.
benefit of the doubt.
Yes. So
Wow,
it's
that's fantastic. And because you approach it from an academic sort of initially from an academic thing, next question. Are you a plotter or a pantser?
ah, I am definitely a plotter. I Uh, I sent my for my one of my drafts. I think the first draft I was sending to my editor in the US.
Yeah.
I did like a whole project plan. So I went through all of my scenes and
Oh my goodness.
said, okay, I need to change this, 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 and this. I think it'll take me this long, and therefore, and I had like a whole thing where I could track whether it was done and what percentage I had remaining. And because my day job is in tech, I'm always on projects. I'm often like managing a backlog of work. So this was very natural to me. And I sent it to her and she was like, I don't know I don't know whether I'm
Em-
thrilled or horrified by this. So yeah, I haven't sent I'd still do the spreadsheets. I don't send them to her anymore.
But
So
it's all right. You're in good company. There are a lot of writers out there that love a good spreadsheet.
yep, yep. It just helps me so much to like know where I'm at and
Yeah.
have that sense of achieving and yeah, I'm fine with it.
Do you have a favorite food when you write?
Oh, favorite food? No, no. I drink a lot of tea. I remember when I first got started, I would occasionally get frustrated and go have a glass of wine, and that always seemed to help. Um, but no, no,
No,
no favorite. I'm really racking my brain. Can't think of anything.
that's
No.
quite all right. There is no right or wrong answer. That's the beauty of it.
Mm.
Who do you turn to for help with your writing?
Ah, whoever's sitting next to me. I will I recently messaged on a couple of WhatsApp groups looking for like kitty anecdotes.
Hmm.
My brother-in-law gave me ideas for the first book, and now he's very invested. There's one idea that made it into the book, and he's very invested. And he wants me to name a character after him. So
Wow.
his name,
Not only invested, asking favors.
yeah, yeah. So his name is, I hope I'm not like breaking any rules here, but his name is Martin Walsh. So I was trying to put Marvin Welsh into book three, but I could not take the name Marvin seriously. So I've had to rename. He's now Matthew Welsh. And my brother-in-law has a fantastic head of hair. So
Yeah.
the one other characteristic that Matthew Welsh is going to have is a good head of hair. So Marty's making it into the third book. He'll be really happy.
It's just like that's like a little Christmas gift.
Yeah.
It's like you
Yeah.
don't have to buy anything for him under the tree, just the note. You've made
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
What is the most often asked question that you get about your writing?
Um,
I don't even know
it,
if I said that in the proper order of English, but
oh no, yes, but
you,
well, I think so. Um, the most frequently asked question would be like about the indentured labor system or
yeah.
about the history of Fiji. So again, it's just not a well-known topic, so it is a thing that sort of is always front and center in people's questions.
What started you on a life of crime?
Ah, so um, I read a lot of crime when I was a kid.
Yep.
Um, all the Sherlock Holmes, all of the Hardy Boys, the Three Investigators, the uh, Trixie Belden,
Trixie Bell,
Love
Nancy
Trixie
Drew?
Belden, Nancy Drew, all of those, all the Agathas. And then I discovered fantasy, and then I fell into a fantasy black hole and
Mm-hmm.
read mostly fantasy, but until I decided I wanted to set something in Fiji.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines is, I could not figure out how to get dragons into Fiji. So it was crime. It was back to my childhood love of crime. So I started reading a, again in crime and
Yeah.
rediscovered my love of crime and started reading specifically crime set in different sorts of locations. So Colin Cotterill was one of my
Yeah.
inspirations because his series, I feel like it's kind of mirrors what I'm trying to do.
But
And
he's
Alexander,
kind of got that slightly supernatural sort of element to it as
he
well.
does. He
It's like you
does.
might
Yeah.
get dragons in Fiji yet. Dang.
Yeah. Maybe. Oh, God. I did. There's a temple in Fiji that has a a stone that's in the shape of a snake and it
Yeah.
keeps growing. And at one point, I really, really wanted to get that as a setting. But I was a bit concerned about like sacrilegious,
Oh,
sacrilegious type stuff. So
yeah.
I didn't.
Okay. It's like a narrow line, narrow
Yeah.
path. Yep. You know what? We're almost out of time.
Oh,
That went so fast.
yeah. Sorry. I'm very chatty.
Well, yeah, I'm McChatty McChat Chat, so that's fine too. But we do have a final question for you, and you can take as much time as you need. How would you get away with murder?
Okay. I actually need some time for that one. I would probably hire somebody else to do it for me. I think dark web and hiring somebody and maybe getting somebody else to hire somebody else for me. Can you do that? I don't know. I feel like I'd need a couple of intermediaries.
So like the distance
Yeah, I think so.
or getting
I'm not
Australia.
going to do it myself. I'm not getting my hands dirty.
Have a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, what an absolute pleasure it's been talking to you, Nalima. I know Shipwreck in Fiji, which is the second book, is absolutely fantastic. It's one of those books that you read. It's great for winter because you feel the heat and the
That's
humidity.
fantastic.
Murder Monday interviews are available on Sisters in Crime's YouTube channel, 6 p.m. once a month on a Monday. I've been joined by Nilima Rao, and what a fantastic mystery she's got for you. Nilima, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jack.